Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is acelewy, and yeah, it's a sad day because I keep checking comments. I keep watching other people on the forums and Reddit, and they keep saying that this patch was a good patch because, well, some people think it's a good patch. And most people realize this shit was pretty bad in terms of the supposed buffs that they were doing and changes, because most of the buffs that they released are not good. Let's be honest, like the only class has really received a benefit this entire patch was Dragon Knights, Sorcerers, and Wardens to a certain extent. And I'll be talking about them first. Well, I'll be talking about them later actually. Because first we're going to talk about all these supposed buffs that some people were just so happy for. This is literally just update 35 all over again in terms of the community not knowing that just because they say it's a buff doesn't mean it's an actual buff. And people telling you it's actually a deep, a nerf, but you don't want to listen to the people that actually know the numbers. No, you just want to listen to the developers that clearly have fucked up again and not realize that they've been nerfing it. Or they know they've been nerfing it, and as long as they just say, we said it was a buff, so it's a buff, and you'll just eat it up. Because this shit is fucking stupid. Let's go on with the most obvious one, Necros. You've been nerfed to the ground. If you say you haven't been nerfed to the ground, I want you to do some basic math with me, right? Let's say you're going to go ahead and bomb somebody right now. You're going to bomb a 20 man right here. It's going to be the best clip of the year. This is you. This is all you... Bro, you're going to be on all the top 5 clips. Everybody's going to remember you for the rest of the fucking year, right? So, which combo are you going to take? And I'm just going to throw out numbers, right? I need you to do some quick fucking math. Because if you get it wrong, you lose. Right? You're gonna end up with the worst number, and you're not going to get the bomb off because you need a higher number to get the kills. 10k, 7k, 9k. No, said it wrong. 10k, 7k, 7k. Right. So for those that don't know quick math, don't know what that is 24,000 damage. Right. And this is gonna be low ball damage, by the way. Now I'm gonna highball the other damage. You got 8k and you got 9k. Now let's highball it. 10k, 10k each. Which one is more damage? I'm highballing the last one, and if you don't know what it is, it's your new combo. The last number there, that's your new combo, and that's highballing it. Because consistently, your cleave is not always going to be hitting 10ks on people. I've seen people say, "Oh, I'm cleaving for 2 million damage." Like, shut up, bro. You're probably the same guy that says Hrothgar chill, I was hitting 80k fucking procs on. Like, come on now. If you know basic math, you know that shit never gonna fucking happen. Who the fuck's running around with 100k plus fucking armor? Nobody. So yeah. Now, let's be honest right here. The old combo, which was the one that hit for 24k, the 10k, 7k. The 10k was the stalking blast bolts. That's just been nerfed into the grounds. And now it's just a little buff so that your Colossus, which was just doing a 7k, can now sometimes hit a 10k if you find the right shitter. Or you have group buffs. And it's like, yeah, I'm so glad that the Colossus hits for 10k each. Oh, you did 30k in, a second and a half. That's 2 seconds. That's decent, right? Well, you didn't need that 30k right there, to be honest, because you had a 15k fucking stalking blast bones consistently in your fucking pocket that I'm lowballing. Yeah, that shit wasn't just oh, sometimes you hit a 10k if you got lucky. No, that shit was a classic 15k crit. Easily. It wasn't that hard to make it hit hard. Because everybody's a fucking vampire, and everybody's stage 3, and this does fucking flame damage, and you increase the damage by 50 fucking %. You can increase the damage by 50 fucking %, but nah, bro. It ain't gonna hit hard. Said nobody fucking ever. So yeah, you've been nerfed. And people are like, no, it's actually good. It's actually good. It's been buffed. It's been buffed. No, it wasn't. Stop lying. That shit was hard nerfed, and we have to be honest with ourselves. Because if you're not gonna be honest with yourself, just leave the fucking video. Because now we gotta talk about the blades. Which, let's be honest, we all knew it was gonna be a nerf. We all knew. Now, I will say this, a lot of people that was on the forums was a little confused because they didn't understand whether or not we was going back to the old ways for the damage done. Because they like to whenever there's a blade, they like to word it so weirdly that it is both a yes and a no for whatever you're thinking it is until the next patch where they tell you, hey, it wasn't like that. Or you just get into the game and realize it wasn't like that at all. Like, they should do that for the fucking Arcanists. Because I feel like making it complicated is something that the Arcanist should have. Not the fucking blades, but that's besides the point. But going forward, with the blades, concealed weapon, it itself gets a 10% increased damage done bonus. Now mind you, you may think, oh well, so only concealed weapon keeps the damage that it had from last patch? No, concealed weapon actually is hitting hard as it did 2 patches ago. And if you don't believe me, you should have read what it actually did. Concealed weapon naturally has a 10% increased damage done. So if they just increased his damage done by 10%, which if you wanted to know how powerful that is, it's putting it on the scale of like Wrecking Blow, because concealed weapon and surprise attack has always been about 10% weaker than Dizzying Swing and Wrecking Blow. And now it's on the same par as that, and then getting an additional 10% increased damage done. So now Conceals is hitting a lot harder, because it's hitting 20% harder than it did last patch. Well, really just 10% harder than it hit last patch. But still, that's a lot of damage to be putting on, while still being capable of putting on other sources of damage done. It's just now, you don't get Major Berserk as easily. Keep in mind, you can still get Major Berserk as a Blade. Blades had 2 ways of getting Major Berserk last patch. You could do Reaper's Mark, which was a mag skill, or you can do Concealed Weapon. Obviously, everybody went Concealed Weapon, and they realized, oh shit, we should change this because people are starting to use Concealed Weapon as a fucking buff and not as an actual skill, because people will go into Citadel with bombs, like me, and Conceal's there, yeah, we'll use it sometimes, but really you're just using it as a fucking buff, because it's 10% increased damage done at all times. And curiously I should say, Major Berserk is not something that you consistently get in ball groups. That's not something that you can just give out to your team. So the fact that you can give yourself Major Berserk without running Sea Serpent was really strong. Now mind you, when it was how it was 2 patches ago, where you can have Major Berserk and old Concealed Weapon that just gave you 10% increased damage done for all your attacks, just all your damage done in general, that was really strong, because you had the same damage done as you have now for your Conceal, but it was for all your skills, and you have Major Courage on you. So yeah, you see why they had to nerf that, and they're not trying to go back to that. But you also see how they want to, have Concealed Weapon hit harder. That's the whole point. They want the mag to be stronger than the stand skill. So with that being said, how they're working it now is just Concealed Weapon has that damage done. Now, that's not the biggest nerf, because although the damage was, considerate to some people, like for me, I'm still basically hitting the same damage. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I noticed that I'm not hitting the same exact damage. Like, I haven't seen a 20k yet in BGs for my spec. But at the same time, though, I wasn't highly reliant on it. Like, I didn't need a 20k to kill somebody in BGs. It was nice whenever it occurred, but I just don't need it. But if I get some, extra weapon damage, or anybody gives me any group buffs, obviously I can get that done right back. So it's not like it's impossible to receive it. It was just 10%. So if you get anything that's going to increase your damage, and it's a significant increase, yeah, you can start getting that 10k%, if not higher, in terms of that damage. So it doesn't really matter that much. But the biggest nerf, in my opinion, was his siphoning attacks. Because at first I was thinking, why are they buffing our sustain? Who the fuck said buff the sustain? Even though initially it's going to be a weaker heal overall, it's the fact that it's active at all times, and now you just have to activate the skill. I was thinking it was still going to be under the assumption of mag or stam. It's just going to cost mag or stam for it. No, it costs health. Well, I'm thinking it's still going to be, a relatively cheap skill. It's not going to be like, 4,000 health, right? No, it's actually 4,000 health. 4,000 health for 2,000 mag and stam. When beforehand, with siphoning attacks, it was, 1,300 mag or something like that? Which, by the way, if you really stop to think about it for a second, you could have got 5k mag back if you just let the skill run out. Let it run for 20 seconds. But no, that's too complicated. People, that's really difficult for people. So we're going to nerf the skill so you get less healing, because you used to be able to heavy attack with the skill. Get more healing from it, It was like a 5k tooltip consistently. Realistically, if you had good healing done, you can get that up to 6, 7k, and then that shit can crit. So you realistically, from a heavy attack, say an ice staff, for example, do a fully charged heavy attack into siphoning attacks as the skill is running out. So say it's at 18, 19 seconds. Well, not, it's been active for 18, 19 seconds, so there's like 1 to 2 seconds left. Do the heavy attack, fully charged. You're gonna get like, say, 6k health, from the 5 to 6k health from that, right? Because you have decent crit heals. On top of getting a damage shield, which if you're running like me, you can easily have like 40k health like it's fucking nothing. So that's easily like a 7k. That's just a low ball and say it's a 7k, because it could be higher depending on if you have dash and stuff like that. But, you get like a 7k, Alright, cool. Alright, I just got a 7k damage shield. I healed myself for 6k. I got a whole bunch of mag back. Like, easily, your heavy attack's like a 3k. And then you're getting another 3-4k from the mag back. Like, yeah, bro, a good amount of mag back for fucking nothing. And I'm lowballing this shit. Like, yeah, at certain points we just gotta be honest with ourselves. Try to do that shit now. Say you at, low health too, right? Let's say, as I did that heavy attack in the last example, I was at 5k health, right? If you do that shit now, you're gonna heavy attack, right? You're only gonna get, what, maybe 1k health back. Let's say it's a crit. Cool, you got 1k health back, so you got 6k health. But then you hit siphoning attacks, you just lost 4k fucking health. Don't worry though, you got that damage shield for 7k that's really gonna save you from any executes, am I right, fellas? Like, no, you're fucking dead, you can't do that shit. And you're getting less mag back overall, because you're only going to get 2,600 mag. There's no ramp increase, there's no, as a skilled player, if you time it just right, you can receive just enough mag back to do this, to do that. No, none of that. None of that. And if you're not running siphoning attacks, you're running the worst version of it, which is leeching attacks. And I thought initially this shit was going to be better, until I realized, oh wait, it doesn't give you back mag or stam. It just gives you back more health, and then reduce the cost of the skill. So, like, yeah, it's nice that you can have something that reduces the cost of skill again. So that means that you have 2 skills potentially on your bar for it. Like, say you have Phantasmal Escape and you have Leeching Strikes. You have 2 skills that you can reduce the cost of to 0. That sounds super nice until you realize, wait, this is supposed to be my sustain skill. Why does it not give me back any mag? Why does it not give me back any stam? Only siphoning does that, and there's only 200 per. Yeah, it's any damage that you do. It doesn't have to be a light attack, but you're already light attack weaving as a blade anyway. You should have kept it related to light attacks. It was a little way to, tell the newer players, like, hey, light attack, because some of these people don't like to light attack. It was a little way to teach people that now you're not teaching them anymore. Now you're telling them just deal damage in some type of way and get some health back. And you get some mag back, but it's so weak that it doesn't fucking matter. And then you took Reeve off of Incap, which, also nerfed the sustain a little bit, considering that it was way more sustain back then. You had better mag back, you had better stam back if you chose either one of the skills, and on top of that, Reeve gave you back mag and stam. Now you don't have any of that. If anything, siphoning attacks is just giving you Reeve now. So you're just playing with Reeve, but you have to run the skill back bar. Like, yeah, overall, it's a pure nerf. It's a pure nerf. Right? The only thing I can say is, yeah, they increased in cap for his damage. I was thinking that it was going to give you more damage done added to the debuff. In actuality, it just gave in cap more damage if you use it at 130, which, I mean, it's fine. And then increase the duration of it too. So it's not bad at all. I think a rework like that on Incap is fine, but the nerf to the damage and the sustain was a little bit too much, considering that everybody thought it was just going to be mostly a buff and sustain. Like, I thought it was a sustain buff, actually it was a nerf to your sustain. So now it's like, alright, Nightblades are starting to receive some of the nerfs that they've clearly been needing for a while. But at the same time, it was kind of stupid, because now I have a skill that I can't take off, because it is better than all the other skills, but it's still worse. Worse enough that if I find any other skill to put on that gives you back any type of sustain or does any significant healing, it's better to run it. Like, You could put on other skills back bar for heals, like Healing Gourd or Overflowing Altar, and it's arguably better once you're in group. If you're solo though, there's no point of doing it. So solo, you're just running siphoning attacks, and the skill kind of sucks. So overall, yeah, that's just how it is. Your bars hasn't swapped. That's the fuck thing. Your bars haven't swapped. Like the bar that I have right now is basically the bar that most people run, whether they're dueling or not. I mean, duels you want to drop off Killer's Blade and put on fucking mass hysteria, but still, like, you could run this shit in a duel and it's fine. When you're routing Cyrodiil, running around 1vxing, you know, 5 people in the town or whatever the case is, or you're doing BGs or you're doing Imperial City, like, this is basically the bar that you run majority of the time because it works. It gave you everything. Now you can argue you could put Phantasmal Escape where siphoning is, but a big part of running siphoning was for that sustain, to give you more mag back so you can keep that sustain on. Now it's like, fuck it, you don't even got that no more, so this shit kinda sucks. And you have to train yourself not to use, like, not to hit siphoning. You have to use that shit when you have full health. You have to keep, like, you have to preempt it. Like, you know you better be low on mags, you have to activate the skill after doing a heavy attack for your damage shield to ensure that you're not going to lose too much health as they're hitting you. So yeah, like, you have to really play this shit out smartly. And most people aren't going to play it out smartly, so most people are just going to feel it as a complete nerf. And now they're even squishier because they just lost a whole bunch of fucking health. And they wasn't playing it right. So yeah, overall, decent little nerf to the blades. It was a little bit more expected. Most Night Blades are not stupid like the Necros and think it was a buff, unfortunately. So yeah, once we started playing, we realized it was fucked. And people on PC already figured it out, so it's like, fuck, it's the shit. You know what I mean? But yeah. With that being said, let's just talk about who got buffed. So DKs, why are they buffed? Poison. Poison now is Execute. This is a buff for everybody. As long as you run poisons on your back bar, you basically can always apply it. Like if you have, say, a bow, put on Poison Injection, and whenever the poison procs, right, either from your arrow, or from, just running actual poisons like Crown Lethal Poisons, or any other special poison that you have that does damage, you can now proc the poison status effects from there. And because of that, you get to Execute, a literal Execute, yeah, so yeah, it's cool. There's a dot that executes, and if you're running Poison Injection, guess what? You have 2 dots that execute. That's fun. Say you're running the Ice Staff like me and you put on Susceptibility, you have a higher chance of proccing status effects. So just off of that alone, you can kind of already see that it's really good. And then lastly, it's because DKs do more poison damage. So off rip, if you was to do the bow combo that I was talking about, with the bow in your back bar, put on Poison Injection, and it procs the poison status effect, you're going to be hitting harder than most of the people immediately just off of that alone. And you can increase his damage done through a nice little set called Morak Tong, which increases all your poison and disease damage by 10%. And guess what? Who does a lot of poison damage? DKs. So you see how that goes. You can easily just run Noxious Breath. You can easily just run, Poison Injection, Venomous Claws, consistently apply those status effects, and you're good. And guess what? They even buffed fucking Venomous Claws and Burning Embers, but particularly Venomous Claws because it was the best version of the skill. When you apply the poison or the burning status effect, it restores back 1000 mag and stam, not just either or. And this occurs every 3 seconds if I'm correct. So you're getting back a decent amount of sustain now for just doing one skill instead of having to do both skills. So now you're sustaining a little bit better as a DK. You got more damage now as a DK, and even though they've been changing up combustion and that burning status effect and all that, doesn't really matter. You're still gonna get plenty of fucking damage and plenty of strong ass dots, because you could easily just put on fucking Flames of Oblivion, hit that, and that procs burning status effect with your Poison Injection, proccing the poison status effect while running Crown Lethal Poisons. You got a whole bunch of dots on people without necessarily needing to run a lot of dots, but you can still put on more dots like Venomous Claws. You can still put on more dots like Noxious Breath. It's really up to you at that point, and you can still get plenty of status effects. This patch right here is going to be a status effect patch, because you can actually make builds that are similar to like if you was to play Warframe where you're having a lot of status effects. You can really do that, and most of these status effects are going to be very useful. The change to Bleed made Bleed a little bit more viable without it being extremely overpowered, so that was cool. But yeah, like, DKs just got buffed overall, and that's nice. Cool, alright. Sorcerers got buffed. They have a good heal now. The meme that sorcerers can't heal is kind of almost dead. except the fact that that shit costs like 5k mag. So now it makes more sense to go back to the old crafty Elfiques setups where you're having a lot more mag. Like, Max Orcs is already having a good chunk of mag, and that's how a lot of Max Orcs want to run it anyway. But now you could realistically run, say, like 35k health, 35k mag, and just call it a day. And that would be pretty decent off the strength of, it's going to cost you about 5k mag per hit of Vibrant Shroud. And Vibrant Shroud gives you minor vitality, and if you aim it at your enemy, it also applies major main to them. So, say you're dueling somebody and someone's fucking you up. You hit Vibrant Shroud, you apply the little major main to them, give yourself minor vitality, you hit a damage shield right after, it's like Hardened Ward, that heals you now, you know, so it's like, yeah, you get decent ways to heal yourself and all that stuff and keep up your damage shields and stay alive. I feel like it's the one buff that Sorts really needed, and it's working pretty well. However, the nerfs to Necros is still hurting me to this day. Oh my god. I can't believe they did that shit. I'm sorry, PTSD. Flashback. Apologies. Going into, what? The Arcanist? I mean, it's just a nice little nerf, nothing major. People have to realize now, since Rending Slashes got nerfed, Arcanists don't really have a lot of damage. So people that were saying like, oh yeah, Arcanist OP damage. No, bro. No, like, you have to Zerg to get good damage most of the time. Like, you have to come up with your own builds, you know, and to give y'all a little, you know, help. You could try Cruel Fury. Might help you, might not. Realistically, it probably won't do too much because your Beam is like the best option that you have for high damage. And that's not affected by Cruel Fury. But it's not terrible. You could run that with Rending Slashes. You could run that with a couple other skills and put on a decent amount of stats effects and really burn through some people using that, but that's more of a dueling setup. I can't really suggest that for like BGs and Imperial City, and even then, it's probably not the strongest duel setup. But yeah, Arcanist just kind of, you kind of see how Arcanists actually work. They just didn't have a lot of damage. But Marcellite Rending Slashes had a lot of damage. And you put that on any class and they always had damage. So you see how that goes. Wardens, however, got a pretty strong buff. Ice damage is cool. You know, it's whatever. The biggest thing though is that you can make bleed builds now with the Wardens, and they're actually really strong. Now, are they 10 out of 10 strong? No. Are they 7 out of 10? 8 out of 10? Yeah. In terms of damage, in terms of survivability and all that, it all depends on how you actually run it. But me personally, I say survivability is like a 7.5 out of 10, running those bleed builds. And then damage is like a 7 to 8 out of 10. You can clearly get more damage if you run it potentially on a Necro, because of how the bleed works. But at the same time, you have the options of running a bleed dot build with a Warden, and a bleed direct damage build, which is two different things. If you don't know what those are, direct damage and dots, direct damage is just regular damage, like spec, you know, Merciless Resolve, you get hit for 20k, you get hit for 15k, you get hit for 12k, things like that. That's direct damage. And no, it doesn't have to be that high. Dots is your damage over time ability, so if I apply a skill to you like Rending Slashes, it will deal extra damage to you over a set amount of time. That is what it is. So with that being said, you could run Cutting Dive, you could run Fletcher, not Fletcher, the Growing Swarm, you can run Executioner, because that does bleed now. Or, you know, you can run Cruel Fury, Rending Slashes, you can run the Swarms, you can run another skill for the bleed, it's really up to you. You can do the Cutting Dive, you can do that one. It does a good amount of damage. I say for the dot one, put some pen on, because I tried it with my usual setup with low pen, and it did good damage in a duel, but I felt like it needed more pen in the long run, because I did put on Elemental Susceptibility, just to see if it would be enough. And I always put on Susceptibility most of the time, because the debuffs from there outside of Breach is most important. I feel the only thing that that particular setup will need at that point would just be a little bit more pen, and that's really it. Oh yeah, and I was running Blood Drinker with this setup too, which increases your bleed damage by 20%. You should get around to using that for at least one of your builds, whether or not you still try to run a Necromancer or a Warden. You should try it out. It is really fucking fun. You will burn through a lot of people very easily. You will do it pretty easily. You just need to have the right setup and the right stats, that's it. But yeah, that's really it. There's not much else to talk about. I am working on a good video project right now, putting in a little bit more effort than usual, because you guys can probably tell. I just kind of just get on here, show you some clips, and just talk. I'm not really scripting a lot of things. I just talk about what's going on in the game currently. That one's gonna have a little bit more effort put in. You'll see how much effort I put in the long run. But yeah, with that being said, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.